Hello and welcome back to my YouTube channel. In this video we are going to talk about variables. This is the second video in a video series called Learn Python, and if you haven't watched the first video I recommend you to do so. The link will be in the description below. While you were gone, I renamed the hello world.py to add the number of the video in the start. So now, since this is the second video and I have created variables.py file, I have added 2 period in the start of the file name. So this is for organization, and without further ado I'm going to start the video. So the first thing you're seeing on screen is what I've typed for myself so that I can go through the lecture for you guys. And the first hint is what are variables and why do we use them. So essentially variables are things, they are like real life buckets. So let's say you have a bucket and you label it and you can place an item inside, and you can, whenever you need, you can get that item or replace that item. So they are essentially there for storing values that can change. And a practical example of this would be if we are creating a calculator. We obviously need to take user input, and the number that user inputs does not need to be same, and it will not be same, and we do not know what number user may input. So that is why we need a variable. And in a later video we'll talk about taking input from user, but today we are just going to talk about variables. So the second part is, in Python, variables do not need to have a fixed type or a type at all. The fixed type part is that in some languages, if you want to create a variable, you need to give it a specific type. So for example, if you create a variable and you give it a type of integer, you cannot then assign string to it. So a string is essentially a sentence like hello world as in this file. So you cannot assign the string to the numerical value. But in Python that is not the case. You do not need to have a fixed type, and you can assign the variable anything from numerical values to boolean to string, and we'll talk about all these types of values in the next lecture, which is going to be about data types. Second part is, or a type at all. So you do not need to specify the type for the variable in Python, and that is a great feature for beginners. The next part is declaration and initialization of variables, and do not worry about these technical terminologies, I'll soon explain them. So in order to create a variable, you need to give the variable a name, and the name should be meaningful. So if we are storing, let's say, user's age, the name of the variable should be user age. But as you can see, it is not very readable. So whenever we are having, of course in real world we would type this like this, but since we cannot use spaces in Python, we replace spaces with underscore. So this is a lot more readable. As you can see, user underscore age is a lot more readable than one without space. And then we say equal to, and then we type the value of the user age. Of course we can take this value from input from the user, but for this video I'm just going to set it to 10. And now the user age has a value of 10. So this is a new variable, and if we want to use it, we'll know that it has a value of 10. And the declaration part is telling the interpreter of Python that we need a variable, and that is done by giving the name, telling the name of the variable. And the initialization part is assigning the variable a value, which is 10 in this case, and we can do those separately. Variables can still have optional type hints, and that is, we can give optional type hints, which means that we can tell ourselves that this variable is supposed to have numerical value. So in order to do that, so let's say we do that here. So I'm going to type user underscore age and then a colon and then a type of that variable. So of course user age is going to be numerical value, and for those we use integers because age cannot be fractional and integers of course, and so we are going to use int and set equals to 10. So now we have told ourselves that it is an integer, and later if we'll hover above user age, it will be an int. But just now that we have specified it as 10, it is saying that it is a constant. But while we are writing practically, we know that the IDE will tell us that it is an integer. Next part is declaration of variables. In this we did declaration and initialization. Now I'm just going to do declaration. So in order to do just declaration, you say user age, and then you need to specify the colon and preferred type that would be for that variable. So we know that we will store numerical values, so it is going to be int for this, and that's it. So we have done declaration, and if I delete this part, it is not giving us an error, and that's it. So for initialization of variables, we need to have the variable declared. So initialization is just assigning a value, so it is going to be the name of the variable, which is user underscore age equals to, and then the value you want to assign to the variable. So let's say I want to assign 21. So that's it. And then the next part is assigning to the variables. So in order to, let's say for some reason you wanted to change the variable and change the value of the variable, you can say name of the variable, which is user age in this case, and you can set it equals to, and let's say I want to add I want to add 2 in the existing value of user age. So we can say user age plus 2. So in this case, what you will do is say, okay, the interpreter will do is say, okay, it's time to set user age to, and what do I need to set it to? So it is going to perform a calculation, which is going to be user age, and this will get the value of user age, which is 21. So it is essentially going to be like 21 plus 2. So what is 21 plus 2? It's of course 23. So it is going to set user age to 23. So it is going to be like this, 23, and this is it. So in case you did not notice, if you type hash, and anything after you type hash is going to be a comment, and comments are something that interpreters ignore. These are for us programmers, so we can use these comments to say something that this variable stores this or so, or anything about that, and we'll use comments while practically coding. And now the last part of this video is going to be printing variables to the console. So if I now say print, open parentheses, and now in order to print to the variable, we just need to type the variable name user age, and that's it. If you run this, I need to see 23 in the user age because we added 2 to the existing value of 21, and it should be 23. So let's say if I say user age equals 10, it will it will replace the existing value of user age with 10. So if I run it again, it should be 10. So this is it for this video. If you liked the video, make sure to hit like button. If you did not, make sure to dislike it. And as always, comment section is open for the feedback, and I hope to see you guys in the next video.